Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christy Nizer. I'm the administrator of the Maryland Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Administration and Governor Hogan's Highway Safety Representative. I'd like to take a moment before we get started this morning and thank all of our emergency workers from across the state, our first responders, our road and utility workers, our tow truck drivers. You all play an integral role in the safety of our Maryland residents on our roadways. These selfless individuals put their lives and themselves at risk to help our motorists, and it's our responsibility, each and every one of us as road users, to ensure they have a safe work environment. Today you'll hear from several agencies with one common goal: to help keep those first responders, road and utility workers, and tow truck drivers safe by reminding motorists to move over. Our first speaker is very passionate about the Move Over law. From his long history at the Mdot State Highway Administration and now as the Mdot Secretary, he continues his commitment to making sure every motorist is informed and that every person who travels or works on Maryland's roads gets home safely. Please welcome Secretary Greg Slater.
Thank you, Chrissy. Good morning. My name is Greg Slater. I am honored to be the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation. As someone who has spent more than 2 decades in this department, we in the transportation industry are a family. I'll never forget those instances in my career when you get that family impact. You get that phone call in the middle of the night when one of our roadside assistance teams have been hit, or one of our officers have been hit, or a distracted driver went into a work zone. My head immediately goes to, I hope they're going to be okay. I hope their families are okay. We all know the risks that we take when we come into this business, but they deserve a safe workplace. The officers, the first responders, our Mdot crews are often working within inches of traffic moving at a high rate of speed, as you can see out here. Moving over and slowing down is a motorist's responsibility. It's our responsibility to keep everyone safe. As many have, we have also been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in this traveling business. We've seen some troubling trends over the last 18 months. In 2020, there were more than 95,000 crashes, and that's with a decreased travel volume across the system. We cannot let these trends continue. Distracted, impaired, and aggressive driving, as well as excessive speeding, are really contributing to unsafe conditions on the road. We saw an increase in nearly every type of driving offense in 2020. Overall, we saw a 7.1% increase in fatalities, a total of 573 lives lost. There was a 48.6% increase in aggressive driving fatalities, a total of 61 lives lost at the hands of aggressive drivers. There was a 40% increase in speed-involved crash fatalities. That's a total of 110 lives lost at the hands of a speeding driver. There was a 12% increase in distracted driving fatalities. That's 216 lives lost at the hands of a distracted driver. There was a 9% increase in pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities. A total of 147 lives lost while out walking, biking, or running along our transportation system. These dangerous behaviors cost lives, and they put everyone at risk. Roadside workers making improvements to our roads, our law enforcement officers out there keeping the system safe, and our tow truck drivers out there helping a stranded motorist and keeping them safe. Even the passengers that are traveling with the drivers. By working together, I know we can eliminate these roadway fatalities and serious injuries. We just need everyone to move over, to slow down. It might just seem like another law to you, but it's what keeps our family safe. The lives of our family, my family, and many others are depending on you doing the responsible thing. We all just have to do our part. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Secretary Slater. We all appreciate your leadership and your passion in the area of highway safety and trying to reach our goal of 0 fatalities. Our next speaker is a longtime partner in highway safety who also shares that goal of reaching 0 fatalities. In highway safety, we always say the partnerships that we have are so critical, really, to our success. Please join me in welcoming Regina Ali, the Public and Government Affairs Manager from AAA Mid-Atlantic.
Good morning. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Secretary Slater. Thank you both for your passion, your commitment to traffic safety. AAA is proud to partner once again with Mdot, transportation officials, law enforcement partners, our state highway chart operators, to talk about the dangers of those that conduct their business on the sides of the road each and every day. As a former law enforcement officer myself, with loved ones who still continue in that profession, and as a brother who just recently joined the AAA family, this is personal to me. Emergency roadside assistance is at the core of AAA's traffic safety mission. AAA tow operators respond to more than 30 million calls for help each year, working on roadside shoulders that are frequently no wider than 4 feet. Despite these dangers, the men and women who help AAA members, the men and women who go out here and patrol our roadways as police officers, put their lives in danger every day. On average, 24 tow operators are killed at the roadside each year. A contributing factor to this tragic statistic is that according to new data from the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, nearly a quarter of those surveyed are unaware of the move over law in the state where they live. Locally here in Maryland, a new poll of Maryland drivers indicates a similar lack of understanding or awareness around the state's move over law, with 32% of Maryland drivers indicating they were either unsure that the state had a move over law or were unaware completely. This likely also explains why more than 65% of first responders say they do not feel safer since the move over laws were put into place. As of August of this year, 14 tow truck drivers have been killed across the country. Given these startling statistics, the tragic loss of 2 AAA tow truck providers this summer, and the continued incidents that are killing and injuring tow truck operators, police, and others who conduct their business at the roadside, we at AAA are recommitting our efforts to increase awareness of and support for slow down move over laws, not just here in Maryland, but across the country. The partnership that AAA has with the towing community, Maryland's law enforcement community, SHA, MVA, has been further strengthened when members of those groups recently took a AAA survey to share what they witnessed on Maryland roads. AAA is quite commonly, we do surveys where we poll motorists and what motorists think and what motorists do. This is the first time that we've actually polled the first responders to see what they're actually seeing on the roadways. And sadly, the survey results shed an alarming light on dangerous driving behaviors that have resulted in hundreds of deaths at the roadside. According to more than 90% of Maryland first responders polled, they have had at least one near-miss incident or felt their life threatened because motorists do not slow down or move over for those on the roadways, even though obviously the law requires you to do so. More than 35% of those said that these encounters happen routinely. Ironically, last month, and in stark contrast, AAA released a separate poll of Maryland motorists, where more than 90% of those surveyed indicate that they do slow down for first responders at the roadside and move over when they can safely do so. This is obviously not what our first responders are experiencing. According to the poll of AAA of first responders, 70% of police, tow truck drivers, and roadside workers said that in their experience, Maryland motorists are not slowing down. They're not moving over. They're not giving them the space to do their job safely on the roadside. These are obviously very different and conflicting perceptions. AAA has proudly advocated with stakeholders in Maryland across the country for stronger slow down move over laws. Maryland has great laws on the books, but sadly motorists are ignoring them. They're not paying attention. Clearly, there's still more work to be done to ensure the safety of our first responders, our emergency roadside workers, our police officers. For us at AAA, that work includes launching a new PSA this week, in fact today here in Maryland, ahead of National Slow Down Move Over Day. The PSA features first responders from across the country who are making an impassioned plea to motorists to give them room on the side of the road to safely do their jobs. We are happy and grateful to the Maryland Department of Transportation's Motor Vehicle Administration, thanks Chrissy, and other traffic safety advocates and stakeholders who will be extremely instrumental in helping bring this message to motorists with the PSA. The PSA will be airing in MVA locations across the state to increase awareness of the laws and to hopefully make motorists think while they're sitting there doing what? Checking their phones, what have you. Make them think about their behaviors when they're behind the wheel, when they see someone stopped or working on the side of the roadways. And sadly, as we're talking about this, we also know that first responders are not the only ones that are being killed on the roadside. Since 2015, over 1,600 people have been struck and killed while outside of a disabled vehicle. The reality is, as Secretary Slater indicated, drivers are increasingly distracted, they're not paying attention, they may be impaired. Previous AAA Foundation research has found that drivers are up to 4 times as likely to crash if they are talking on a cell phone while driving, and up to 8 times as likely to be in a crash if they're texting. Some states have extended move-over protections to include disabled motorists and everyone at the roadside. While Maryland's current move-over law does not apply to disabled motorists, 84% of Marylanders polled indicated that they would support slow-down move-over laws for protections for disabled motorists as well. Whether there's a police officer, ambulance, fire truck, or someone fixing a tire, AAA implores motorists to slow down if it's safe to do so, move away, change lanes, create safe space for those on the side of the road. The ultimate goal is not only to make motorists aware of the laws, the goal is to change behavior, save lives on our roadways, and put an end to these senseless tragedies. Thank you.
Thanks, Regina. We really appreciate the partnership with you and with AAA on these important safety issues, and thank you for the information about the perception of the Maryland motorists as well as the important perception of our first responders. Our next speaker is a leader in law enforcement and another important partner as chief of the Maryland Transportation Authority Police. Unfortunately, he knows firsthand the dangers that our law enforcement officers face every day as they work to keep our roadways safe. Please welcome Colonel Kevin Anderson.
Good morning, everybody. As Chrissy said, I'm Colonel Kevin Anderson, Chief of the Maryland Transportation Authority Police. Each day, our first responders throughout the state respond to assist motorists, whether they're disabled on the side of the highway or unfortunately having some other type of an emergency, whether a crash, a medical emergency, or a medical emergency. If you're approaching any emergency vehicle, it doesn't matter whether it's a police, fire truck, EMS, tow operator, or chart members, if you see red, white, blue, or amber, that is your first indication to slow down and move over. Just by doing those 2 things, you became a part of our team of traffic safety. Every chance that you get to slow down and move over gives us the opportunity to be more effective, more efficient, and able to clear that traffic incident so we don't have a secondary traffic incident. In fact, this year alone, MBTA police unfortunately had 2 officers struck while doing their jobs on the side of the highway, one on Interstate 95 in Baltimore and the other on Maryland 200 in Montgomery County. I am happy to say that both officers did survive those crashes, but they are still recovering from their injuries months later. To put a human factor on it, every one of these people that go out and provide this first responder service to our citizens that use our highways every day, they're not just a man or woman in uniform, they're a human being. They're your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your loved ones. You heard the statistics, but they're human statistics. That's so important for you to remember. By just doing these 2 simple things of slowing down and moving over, you can prevent a tragedy from occurring in our state. Lastly, I will say this, personally being on the side of the road, making traffic stops, responding to calls for service related to crashes is one of the most challenging things we have to do in law enforcement. It doesn't matter whether you're a sheriff, a trooper, a police officer. Our ability to get out there safely, protect the scene from those who have already been hurt or injured, is our most important responsibility. and then us to safely do our job to investigate what occurred and clear the highway so we can get you where you want to be. So again, we're asking you to be a part of our Traffic Safety Advisory Committee and advocate, and just slow down and move over. Be a part of our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Anderson. I'd also like to take a moment to just thank our partners with the Maryland State Police who are with us here today, as well as to thank all of our local law enforcement partners throughout the state. We appreciate everything that you do every day. Our final speaker is the Mdot State Highway Administrator. He offers a unique perspective on why this effort is so important for our state's roadside workers who provide that emergency service and maintain Maryland's roads. Please welcome Tim Smith.
Thank you, Chrissy. The Move Over law is intended to protect our law enforcement, our workers on the side of the roadway. At State Highway, what that really means is our incident responders, our chart operators, our maintenance and construction crews. And as MDTA mentioned, it's really about our family members, our friends, our neighbors, and people we know. We need to protect them as part of our family. As some stats have already been pointed out, way too many folks are not following this particular law. Some stats from State Highway, from 2014 to 2019, there were more than 4,000 people injured and 53 people killed in work zones in Maryland. Since 2016, there have been 68 crashes involving our chart operators, responding to roadway vehicles that have been either an incident on the side of the roadway or just helping a stable motorist, including 5 this year alone. So not moving over and slowing down is not only dangerous, it's against the law. So to help change motorists' understanding as well as their behavior, I'm asking us as a society, as a family, to lead by example. So when driving, move over a lane when you see a first responder or flashing lights on the side of the roadway. And if you can't move over, slow down. And that means slow down to a point that you can safely navigate that area if something should happen. Educate others. As someone who has a 16-year-old learning to drive, take that time to educate them. Let them know, let's teach the next generation what this law really means. Share with them the impacts that could be a family member, that could be a friend, that could be a neighbor, someone they know, and how that impacts not only them, but the vehicles, those in the vehicle with them. So if you're active on social media, we'll be posting several items across this week. Please feel free to share, and let's kind of put that movement out there and make sure everyone gets educated and, more importantly, better understands that law. So thank you for doing your part, and thank you for helping us move over.
Thank you, Tim. You've now heard from all of our speakers why it's so critical for all drivers to move over or slow down when they're approaching the emergency responders or service vehicles. Regina mentioned very clearly, despite this being a law for 11 years, we continue to have these preventable roadside tragedies. And as many of us mentioned, these are family members, these are friends, these are members of the community, losses that are felt from years to come. Today we're launching a 6-week campaign to educate all Marylanders on the Move Over law. You'll see billboards in key locations as well as graphics on social media as a reminder to look out for one another. Driving is a personal responsibility, and as Secretary Slater mentioned, we've been seeing troubling trends on our roadways that have been contributing to these crashes. But there's something that each and every one of us can do. Be the sober driver, be the focused driver, be the slow down driver, and be the buckled up driver. And now be the move over driver. Our first responders, our tow truck operators, our chart workers, our law enforcement, they're there for us when we need them. It's now up to us to be the example. Please move over. Let's all get home safely. Thank you very much.